Hello RPA enthusiasts and developers. I am Raj and I am a certified RPA developer. Today I'll be talking to you about the Retry Scope. I'll explain you how this works and what is the better way of using this and what are the essential use cases of using the Retry Scope. So when you go through this web page, it explains you how to use the Retry Scope activity. And there is a file that you can download. This is an example. I have downloaded it here and it explains in the main file, and then I will explain you with two other examples that I have created. Alright, so let's begin. So this is the retry scope sequence. This has two parts. One is the action and one is the condition. So in the retry scope, the action runs and it will run once, and if the condition is met, then it will come out of this retry activity completely and it will proceed with the next activity. But let's say there was a problem while executing the action sequence, then the retry scope will try again. It will try for 3 times in an interval of 5 seconds. So if anything goes wrong when it retries, it will retry after 5 seconds. The only other way this action won't be retried is if the condition is met. In here, the condition is if an element is found. So if the element is found, if the condition is, that means the condition is met, and then it will move ahead in the execution. Now what this means is the condition, if I just remove this, the condition, just if you see drop in condition activity here, what this means is it's looking for a boolean value. Element exists activity gives you a boolean value, and this condition will check whether it's a boolean or not, and then if it's a boolean true, then the condition's met and the program sequence will move ahead, or if not met, it will go ahead and retry. It will retry for 3 times as I showed you. If the condition is not met in 3 times, then the retry scope will give up and throw an error. The other situation is in this action sequence, if there's an error, as they're trying to simulate an error here through the throw activity, then the condition's definitely not met, and then the retry scope will fail. But when the retry scope fails at this time around, it will show you the message that is there in the throw activity. It will show you notepad failed to start. Alright, so in this, the basic takeaway is that how to use the condition. In this example that I have created, retry with verification, this is a use case wherein you open up a form, you fill up some of the information in that, and you check if everything you've tried to fill in has been filled in correctly or not, and then move ahead in the execution. So let me run this first for you, and then I will explain you the program code. So it loads up a particular form, it fills in all the value, and then it clicks the submit button. So this is done. Now let me explain you what was this program flow all about and why it didn't retry this time around. So basically it opens a particular form, it fills in all the information, as you can see with the type into activities, type in name, first name, last name, email ID, extra information, click the file, choose file button, enter the file path, click open button, and then if you see, there's this activity to get the text. So what it does is it gets the text from the input fields that the program had filled in values before. So it'll get the text values for the first name, last name, email ID, extra text, and also if the file was uploaded correctly or not, and then it will check if all of the above information is equal to the information that was passed on through this program. So the arguments are the values that it passes the values into the web page, and the get text activities gets the value from the web page and stores it in these variables. What the is true activity does is, I've written the condition here, and it checks for if the incoming value in the form of argument is equal to the value that the program receives from the web page through the get activity. If these two are equal, then the value that I had intended to put in was correct and the program should proceed with its execution. So once the condition is met, it clicks the submit button. Now I'll run this again to simulate that how it can fail and how it retries. So here now I've just put in some extra alphabets, if you see. So this time it's definitely going to fail and it will be retrying. You see it started the retry, and what I can do is I can run it one more time later on and I can show you. So this time it was a pass, and the program didn't throw an error, and if you see it moved to the next page saying thank you. What I can do is let's try and do something here. Let's try to reduce to 1 time so that I can show you the error fairly quickly. So I'll introduce an error while the program inputs a particular value. So I've introduced the error, it will fail, and just look at it, what message it gives. So you see it's already failed here. So retry scope, action failed to execute as expected. This is because the condition was not met. Okay, now if you see this activity, the activity is true. Now this activity does not come by default in UiPath's packages, so you will have to incorporate you have to add a new package which is Microsoft Activities. You can find it like this. You can find it with the keyword workflow manager, because it's workflow manager activities by Microsoft. The version is 1.0.1. When you search this package, just make sure you check in all the boxes here, and then you search it here, and then you will find it. So once you install this package, you will get access to this particular activity is true, and then this is how you can use it. The reason of this particular use case is that, well, this particular example is pretty straightforward. It just opens a web page which is a form, and it enters the value. But this is usually not the case when we are dealing with enterprise applications. When we work with enterprise applications tend to run a little slow, and it causes or introduces unwanted errors and unwanted timing issues. While the program might think that the web page is fully loaded and it tries to enter the value, sometimes it doesn't load up, and then you might think, what have I done wrong? Why is this not working? Well, you haven't done anything wrong in terms of automating the web page, but it's just timing errors. The best way to get rid of the timing errors is to retry, because if you retry, I'll run this again. If you retry, so I'm introducing an error, but when you retry, just look, the page won't load again. It will just retry on the loaded page. Okay, it failed because the number of retry was less. So we'll retry again, and I'll introduce an error. I've introduced an error, and when you see it'll retry again, but this time the web page is not loading again, so there will be no timing issues, and then you can be confident that the values that you intend to put in have been put in correctly, right? It can also work with drop downs, because some drop downs are dependent on values that come into the web page through other fields, and then there's validation check, and then the drop down values come up, and then again there can be timing issues. Sometimes you want to put a drop down value, but that drop down value has not been loaded yet, and you can get all sorts of errors. Best way to get rid of all of them is to retry, and you retry and you move ahead by checking the condition if the input value is equal to the value that you see or you get from the web page. If these two values match, go ahead with submitting the form. The next way to use retry scope would be without the condition. When you don't put any condition and you're still using retry scope, what you're essentially doing is you are depending upon an uncaught exception. So let's say this exception is thrown, it will retry because this activity was not completed completely, and it will retry again based on the number of tries and the interval. So you don't necessarily need a condition or element exist or anything of that sort. When you can or when you need an element exist would be navigating from one web page to the other. So imagine if you have clicked on, you were on a particular web page 1, you clicked a particular hyperlink and you go to web page 2, but you don't know when the web page 2 will load up. You just don't know. So you could use element exist. You could add in extra delays. You can wait for it to be complete, and then it won't retry until it finds the web page, and then only when the program sequence finds that element on page 2, it will stop retrying. This way you know that you've safely reached the page 2. So these are the ways you can use the retry scope. Hope you like this video. Please leave some comment, and you can share any thoughts about this, and you can tell me what next topic you want me to work on, so that I can try to provide you some solution. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.